Before we begin, I want to remind you that if you love comics and pop culture as much as I do, you'll subscribe to my channel and ring the bell to stay informed of upcoming videos. Please share this video, as that will help me gain subscribers as well. I also want to remind you to check out my columns and reviews on two sites, Comics for Sinners and Comic Crusaders. I also have my own franchises, Adolescent Radioactive Samurai Platypi and Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter. The latter has been picked up by Cutthroat Comics. Check the links below for more details and the link to Dracula Rising, which is available on Amazon. Here's some great artwork from Raphael Lanohouse from the origin story Foul Blood. Once again, available on Cutthroat Comics. See the links below. I also have a book which is a collection of my reviews and columns called Comics, Pop Culture, and Politics. You can also find t-shirts and posters on Teespring. Again, check the links below for all Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter merchandise. And now,
on with the show, this is it.
Welcome back to another episode of Don't Make Me Watch That. I've been away for a while, had a little sickness, a little bout, but I'm back. And now, it's Thanksgiving time. Well, it was when I wrote this anyway. And I want to look at two buddy road trip comedies this week. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, as well as Due Date. Which one do you like better? Do you like both the same? Which did you think was funnier or more dramatic? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles came out first in 1987, so let's discuss it first. The movie has account executive Neil Page, played by Steve Martin, attempting to get home to his family for Thanksgiving holiday. But his flight plans are thwarted by a blizzard, and he crosses paths with shower curtain ring salesman Del Griffith, who's also trying to get home, and they wind up traveling together, which turns out to be a nightmare for Neil.
No, you could have killed me slugging me in the gut when I wasn't ready. That's how Houdini died, you know.
The setup in Due Date is similar, with Robert Downey Jr. as Peter Hyman in the Steve Martin type role, and Zach Galifianakis, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, I'm not sure about that one. He's playing Ethan Tremblay or Ethan Chase in the John Candy type of role. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles works well because of the chemistry between Martin and Candy. Downey Jr. and Galifianakis have chemistry too, but in parts the chemistry seems strained and we can never understand why Peter's character stays with Ethan's character. He is literally grating on your nerves in certain scenes. One scene that comes to mind is when Peter's character is relating the death of his father and Ethan breaks down laughing.
He had his bags packed by the front door and he picked them up, put them in the back of his car, and drove away. Last time I ever saw him.
Not good or realistic at all in this scene. So while the relationship between Neil and Del grows and is believable, the relationship between Peter and Ethan is strained and stretches the limits of credibility. In one scene, Ethan falls asleep at the wheel of his car and crashes. He and his little dog Sonny are unscathed, but Peter winds up with a broken arm. In yet another scene, Peter is accidentally shot by Ethan. This one kind of stretches the believability a little bit more than Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I found both films to be incredibly funny, but as far as believability goes, the point has to go to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. In Due Date, we have to give credit where credit is due. They don't have the characters forced off the airplane due to weather. Here we see Peter and Ethan mistaken for terrorists and get taken off the flight even when it's proven that they are not actually terrorists. They still can't board the plane due to a technicality and are forced into a buddy road trip comedy.
When's the next flight?
Probably in an hour, but you won't be on it.
Why's that?
You're on the no-fly list.
Like in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, they wind up losing their IDs and money and must struggle to find a way home. I gotta give kudos to Due Date for being a bit more creative on having these two on the road in an original way. Even if it's more far-fetched, at least they don't copy the flight getting stranded routine as most of these movies do. They try to be just a bit more creative on getting these two together, and it's a funny scene that deserves some recognition for originality. So we'll give a point to Due Date for original way to get the two on the road trip without it being winter or stormy, if you can take all that in. Which movie is more family-friendly? The point has to go to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, as Due Date includes a lot of foul language and references to drug use and abuse. However, there is one scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that could rival Due Date, when Neil Page tries to rent a car and the car isn't there, and he has to walk all the way back to the car rental place.
How may I help you?
Start by wiping that f***ing dumbass smile off your rosy f***ing cheeks.
Here's enough F-bombs to give the film an R rating, but the rest of the film is actually pretty tame compared to Due Date. So the point goes to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, which characters are quirkier? The characters John Candy and Steve Martin play in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles are very generic but likable. They're everymen. We probably all know people like Neil and Del, but they're not special in any way. They're just average. Peter and Ethan, as played by Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, however, are extremely quirky. Peter suffers from anger issues and can lose his temper at the drop of a hat. I don't think Zach has ever played a normal character in his life. He's always a bit off-center, from The Hangover to Masterminds. He's always playing a character that's not quite adjusted right, and it's really on display here. So for sheer quirkiness, the point has to go to Due Date. There. We have a tie so far. What about ability to pull at the old heartstrings? Due Date tries to find that moment with the spreading of Ethan's father's ashes. At one point in the film, Peter is about to leave Ethan behind and take off, but despite all the weirdness he's been through with Ethan, he can't bring himself to just leave his father's ashes sitting on the road somewhere and take off. So he gets the ashes and drives back to Zach. The moment is meant to make us care more about the relationship between the two, and we do feel a little for the characters and their predicament, but it's just too quirky for us to really invest in the characters, especially after a character played by Jamie Foxx actually heats the ashes up. Since they're in a coffee can, he thinks that he's making coffee. The characters actually wind up drinking part of Ethan's father's ashes, and they have to restore what's left of the ashes after that. That scene kind of kills the moment, and we don't feel the pain the way that we should. We don't connect the way that we should. At least I didn't. However, when Neil goes back to the bus station and discovers Del just sitting there with nowhere to go and no one to spend the holidays with, and Neil invites him to his home for Thanksgiving dinner, despite all he's gone through with the character, man, that scene gets me every year, and I bawl my eyes out. And we discover what true friendship is all about in reaching out to someone who's less fortunate. Well, it just gets me every time, and I cry my eyes out. Just like at the end of It's a Wonderful Life, when all the townspeople help out Jimmy Stewart's character, and he realizes that life is worth living after all. So even though I love Robert and Zach and think Due Date is hilarious, it isn't anywhere near as poignant as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where every moment, to me anyway, is a piece of cinematic gold. And there you have it, my friends, my look at the two movies, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles versus Due Date. Okay, you've heard my opinion, and what about yours? What do you think of these movies? Did you like Due Date better? Did you like Robert Downey and Zach Galifianakis better than Steve Martin and John Candy? Maybe you like both equally. It was hard for me to choose, as a matter of fact, on that score, because I do like both of those movies. I enjoy them. I watch them both a lot. But as far as bringing out the emotion in me, gotta be, for me, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel. Hit the old bell to stay informed. Until next time, live long and prosper. May the force be with you, and keep reading those comics.